Have you ever looked at an issue and thought to yourself, why should I even care? It doesn't impact me. Well, think again. I'm Natalie Bencivenga, and I am back with a chance to dare to care. This is the show that hopes to inspire so that we can see the connections between the issues impacting our communities and find ways that we can activate to make a difference. My latest guest is here to discuss the updates surrounding the 1-year anniversary of the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. I'm with Jess Conard, East Palestine resident and Appalachia director for Beyond Plastics. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take us back to February 3rd, 2023. What exactly transpired that day?
It was pretty much a normal day for us up until the evening. As we all know, that there was a fiery train about an hour before it derailed in about 2 miles from my home. 63 different fire departments were called to put out the fire. They did successfully put out, I think it was like a half-mile long fire. We're so grateful for their involvement. We learned as the weekend unfolded that one of the vinyl chloride cars was leaking and there was risk of an imminent explosion. February 6th, which was the following Monday, the decision was made to purposely drain the vinyl chloride cars, not just the one that was leaking, but 5 cars full of vinyl chloride into a ditch, which did end up a lot in our protected waterways, and just set it on fire. That was the solution that they came up with. As the following weeks unfolded, and if you look in the National Transportation Safety Board hearing docket that happened in June, the owners of the vinyl chloride repeatedly testified that that purposeful vent and burn was not necessary, and that the train accident was not an accident, but 100% preventable. So we've learned a lot in the past year about this situation, and essentially that we don't want this to happen again. We don't want this to happen in your town. So that's the hope moving forward.
Now, let's just dive right in. Can you talk a little bit about what it is like to live and be and work and play in East Palestine since this past year?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's certainly a little different than what it was a year ago. I would say that some of us have certainly gotten back to normal. Some of our lives seem to have just mellowed out a little bit, while others still do have some pretty serious health issues, health symptoms, really having a hard time getting back into their homes, or deciding whether they should stay relocated. So I think it does really depend on who you ask. My personal journey has been very interesting in that I completely shifted careers and recognized that what happened in East Palestine really is a symptom of a larger issue.
And what is that larger issue in your mind?
That's a great question. So the vinyl chloride that spilled in my hometown, the 116,000 gallons of vinyl chloride, is used to make PVC plastics. These are your number 3 plastics. They really can't be recycled. And these are products that we use every day, right? Drinking water, pipes, shower curtains, kids' toys. PVC is actually one of the plastics that is primarily responsible for the plastic waste pollution. And so as a result, I've made that connection to this global waste, this plastic waste problem that we have. In addition to that, and we can talk more about my position with Beyond Plastics, but in addition to that, vinyl chloride has been a known carcinogen for 50 years, and we put it on these trains in very large quantities, and we run it through town after town after town, and the rail regulations are significantly lacking, and transportation of these chemicals, those regulations are lacking. And so really the message that East Palestine is a symptom of a larger issue is that this could happen in your hometown, and it's a warning that we really need to heed.
When I hear this and hearing you say it was preventable, hearing the idea that the only solution in that moment was to dump all of this into like community, soil, which eventually moved into waterways. How did the community cope with that? With hearing that this didn't have to go this way? What was your initial reaction?
Shock. We have an amazing volunteer fire department, and this decision certainly was not up to just one person. This was a group decision, as it should have been. When I first joined Beyond Plastics, my colleague, Judith Inc., who was a former EPA regional administrator, said that the decision to vent and burn the vinyl chloride was unprecedented. She had never heard of that happening. Normally, they would bring in specialized trucks and pull that hazardous chemical out and take it off site to be disposed of. That was not the case here. I'm not sure why those plans rolled out, and really the only conclusion that we've come to is to get a train through, which is putting profits ahead of people. We do know that the inspections on those trains were not completed according to guidelines. There's the NTSB docket is a wealth of information if you're looking for that. I want to highlight that there is a lot of division still in the community here over those decisions and over the decisions moving forward and how the train company has responded. I don't think that the community is divided out of animosity. I think that we're divided because we're still confused, because
Yeah.
we still have unmet needs. There is no fund for us to permanently relocate. We have no opportunities for medical assistance, and we still don't have an opportunity for indoor air monitoring. Those have been the three asks since the beginning of this and still remain as unmet needs.
And what is their reasoning for not meeting those needs? Because to me, those seem pretty straightforward and things that should have been done right away.
Right now, we are in need of an emergency declaration in order to get federal funding for that. While the train company was named the liable party, they are currently the only ones that residents can bring their needs to. So, when you're forced to confront the polluter, it would be like if you're in a car accident and say you had some medical injuries, you need some car repairs. It would be like, instead of going to your insurance company, you have to go to the liable party to get your needs met. That's really just not how the system should work. We have excellent taxpayer-funded emergency agencies for situations like this that we should really start utilizing those services. What a better way to use American taxpayer dollars than on Americans?
What is the reason that declaration hasn't been met?
That's a good question. So Governor DeWine did request the emergency declaration, and it has been sitting on President Biden's desk. I'm not sure. I would really like an opportunity to figure out why. Biden did issue an executive order at the end of last year, I think fall sometime, that assigned a FEMA coordinator to our community to collect data in order to determine if a public health emergency or emergency declaration is needed. We have had significant support from our senators in a bipartisan relationship in Ohio that have penned a letter requesting a public health emergency so that we can take advantage of a little known clause in the Affordable Care Act known as Social Security Act 1881A. This outlines that folks would be eligible for Medicare for life due to an environmental hazard exposure. So anyone who feels like they were exposed would potentially have an opportunity for those Medicare services. So we have we wouldn't even need any new legislation. We already have it in place. We just need those decision makers to make the choice for the people and not for the corporation.
So When you're looking at your own role in this, and you said you had made sort of an entire change in career, have you always had a focus on environmental justice work, or was this something that arose in you out of necessity for the situation?
Natalie, I have been a dedicated medical speech language pathologist my entire life. I love my profession. I was born to be a speech therapist, and I really enjoyed that work. There was something in me that shifted. It was kind of like a mama bear feeling, that I knew that I needed to do more research to protect my family. And so that snowballed, and then folks from the environmental community were trusting me with this message that vinyl chloride's got to go.
Yeah.
And so I volunteered, and we presented a petition to ban vinyl chloride, and we are very proud to say that the United States EPA did decide to put vinyl chloride on the Toxic Substance Control Act list, which they only pick 5 chemicals to do that. So that was announced in December. It was certainly a win. And we are going to move forward with the push to completely ban vinyl chloride.
Even though you're not a medical doctor, you've been a part of the medical profession for well over a decade in your career. So, can you speak to vinyl chloride and what you're seeing happening to residents and community members?
Absolutely. And you're right. I'm not a medical doctor, but I have seen the end result of these chemicals and what they can do to folks, just because I've been working in hospitals for a long time and treating victims of these occupational hazards. In my personal growth, I have been a researcher at heart. And so part of that has led me to understand and recognize that vinyl chloride is a known carcinogen. We know that it is linked to all sorts of cancers, liver cancer, but not just cancer, leukemia, lymphoma. You've got endocrine disruption, which can impact pregnancy, miscarriages, different neurological disorders. And we know this because there is a mountain of research. All you have to do to learn about vinyl chloride is just read about it. There's a lot of information on not just vinyl chloride, but the products that are made from vinyl chloride, which are those PVC plastic products. Again, they cannot be recycled. The life cycle of vinyl chloride is toxic at every level. You have vinyl chloride manufacturing facilities, you've got PVC manufacturing facilities, and then you have PVC waste facilities. And all of these locations would potentially increase the health risk of those areas. And so now that we have this research coming out as a result of what happened in East Palestine, a really great new research article from Toxic Free Future has really outlined just the one company who owned the vinyl chloride that was spilled in East Palestine. We now know that there are at any given time, there are 36 million pounds of vinyl chloride on the rails, 200 rail cars, over 2,000 miles of travel. And that's just one company. It travels from Mexico all the way up the nation, across through East Palestine into New Jersey. This company alone ships annually 1.5 billion pounds of vinyl chloride. So when we're talking about this vinyl chloride and how it's manufactured and the PVC, it's not just a stationary issue for those folks in those areas. It's anyone who's along that transportation route, which again, this one includes 18 major cities and hundreds of small cities. So again, East Palestine can be used as a catalyst for change. We cannot just vow to make it right. We
Mhm.
have to do what is right, and we have to do that right now.
What actions has the train company Norfolk Southern actually taken to remedy this situation for your community and the surrounding areas impacted?
I think that's a loaded question because you can take action and it be an abysmal failure. And I think that a lot of times when the train company takes action, it seems as though they only take action when it's a benefit for them. And we've seen that time and time again. So while they may be sponsoring festivals, they have sponsored a new park for our children. They have maybe done some like tickets. They bought some tickets for the theater. Um, they're missing all the core issues. It's great. Great. Bring us a park. That's fine. But also, can I get my body tested for vinyl chloride that you spilled? And we're just asking for remediation. We're asking for our health. We're asking for the safety of our children. And it's like this constant re-traumatization with their logo being put on everything that they sponsor, on a back of a t-shirt when you walk into the grocery store. Um, you know, I think that it's good that there's effort, but without an actionable takeaway, without a resource to provide healing, none of it matters.
We know that Congress vowed to pass legislation to prevent similar disasters, but no bill that I know of has been passed. And we're seeing that accidents have actually gone up. So derailments rose at the top five freight railroads in 2023, according to regulatory reports for the first 10 months of the year, the most recent period for which this data exists for all five companies. So why hasn't Congress been able to act? And what does this say about confidence in our elected officials?
Yeah, the Real Safety Act, it's so unfortunate because the part of the reason that it's not passing is because that very same train company that derailed in my community is pumping money into lobbying against it. For a company that claims to be the safest railroad, and to lobby against the actual safety legislation that is trying to be put into place as a result of their accident. It's really, really unfortunate to see things like this happening. We have books on books of rail safety recommendations, of emergency response recommendations that continue to just get left on the shelf. It's time to pick them up. It's time to open them up and to recognize that nothing is going to come from a recommendation until you put some action behind it. This is not just an issue happening in East Palestine. Vinyl chloride spill on the rail happened in Paulsboro, New Jersey also, as well as other places. So we need to start recognizing that this is a bigger issue. It's not just the 4,700 people that live in my town. There are recommendations. We need to start following them, and we need to stop lobbying against these safety bills.
So, Jess, as you know, this show is called Dare to Care. And as you've been talking and sharing so much important information, I'm making all these connections to so many issues as to why it is important to care about the people and the environment of East Palestine. But can you share why people should dare to care about this issue, even if it's not right in their backyard?
I didn't think it was in my backyard either, but if the train had derailed 60 seconds sooner, it actually would have been. We know that there are 14 million people that live within 1 mile of the railroad tracks just in the three states of Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. There are millions more people, vulnerable populations that spend most of their days within 1 mile, hospitals, nursing homes, daycares, schools. That was the evacuation recommendation for East Palestine, was 1 mile. This is not just a stationary issue where these petrochemical industries are located, vinyl chloride manufacturing, PVC manufacturing, and PVC waste facilities, but it's on the move. If you live near or travel near a railroad at any point in time, you could be at risk for this same incident to happen. Vinyl chloride doesn't just transport on rail, it also travels by semi-truck, cargo ship, pipeline. So, check out your area, figure out what what the routes are, see what your risk is, and then you decide for yourself what you feel like is best for your family. At this point, I would also like to say the response, unfortunately, from the federal government, we have been fighting for almost a year now. And is there a place that I could go where this could have happened, that the response would have been better? Where is that? Where can I move to where I would feel like I matter as an American? I don't know where that is right now. And that's the struggle for a lot of people in East Palestine. Where do we go where if something like this will happen, which according to some folks, this will happen again if we do not make policy change? Where do you go?
Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts and giving us updates as to what's happening on the front lines in East Palestine. If people want to support the people of East Palestine or the community work being done there, where can they go?
Yeah, the support in East Palestine, that's such a tricky one. I would say the way station is a good place to go. That would be my number one.
Wonderful. And Jess, if people want to learn more about your work with Beyond Plastics, where can they go?
We do have a website, beyondplastics.org, and we will soon be putting up a website, bannedvinylchloride.org. So check it out.
Thank you so much for joining me for this month's Dare to Care. Do you have an issue that matters to you and you think more people should